But yeah, the reason we do the matches now at 7 p.m. GMT, or we start the series at 7 p.m. GMT, is because a lot of players, they still have scrims right up until 7 p.m. GMT. In fact, I think some of the players from this matchup that we're currently watching, I think Raziers himself might have actually had scrims. Attow's writing in chat about pressure while he's playing. How on earth he managed that? Yeah, if Raziers is really gone and that's just him signing off for the night, number one, he's got incredible confidence in Atto, and Jory is finishing off this series for him, which is awesome to see. But number two, that would just count as a straight up forfeit. So if that's the case, if Raziers is gone, then Luis just has to win against Atto and Jory is, and Spain advance. And then Raziers will wake up tomorrow and see that his confidence was misplaced. But let's see if Raziers has made a good decision here. Or has he made a decision that he will live to regret. Luis already starting off with the banger and calls a bluff on Atto's challenge to put himself up by 2-0. Atto is just trying to fake a challenge in this position. Well, not really fake a challenge, but just drive forward, not flip into a saving angle. Now, the reason Luis has read that is because he's thinking, well, if Atto does flip in the way of this, if he turns to the right and saves this, he's going to be hitting it to his back corner, so that's fine. We can definitely recover and stop a counterattack from going in. And there's always a chance that he just drives forward and doesn't turn to block the shot, which is exactly what happened. And Atto's missed back post rebound, so it's going to be 3-0. Well, this is turned into a much more favourable position for Luis than we thought it might. Half-flip kickoff for Atto, nets him a possession. He beats Luis to the follow-up touch as well. But he's missed the open net once again, and the rebound goes wide. Well, Atto has got to step up the accuracy here. If he's going to come back in game one, he's had opportunities. He's not taking them. I was trying to remember who eliminated... Do you guys remember who eliminated Luis from the Pro Drops Ones event? Luis always goes close with everybody that he plays against recently, but he has had a lot of losses in show matches and tournaments. He's lost in Game 5 to Raziers, Game 5 to Jorias recently. But he's very competitive in every game that he plays, every series he plays in. He's always there or thereabouts. He's never getting crushed completely out of the tournaments. Yeah, Toxic eliminated Moxie in the semi-final. Did Jorias beat Luis in the other semi? No, Jorias beat Raziers in the other semi, if I'm not mistaken. So that must mean that someone else eliminated Luis. I've totally forgotten who it was. Yeah, Luis rarely gets swept. No, was it Jorias? I think it was Jorias who eliminated him. I think Jorias swept him. Yeah, Luis rarely gets swept, but he did get swept the last time he played in a tournament that I ran. That was against Jorias, who is playing in this very series. Yeah, it was not the semis, it was the 5th, 6th match. Luis is looking great though. He always starts off well. I feel like he's such a great game 1-2 player. He's got a very good aerial game. So smooth mechanically, and his recoveries are immaculate, so I never expect to see a bad game in game 1 or bad game 2 for Luis. It's recently at least been the tail end of the series. He's been reverse swept by Raziers in the last 6 months. Oh, that's a response and a half. Atto has hit the back of the net for the first time in the game. An absolute banger. Both players trading flip resets from close range. Yeah, so Luis lost to Moxie and Jory. I mean, not bad losses there. Quality losses certainly, but still losses. He has been just that level below the top tier in Europe for a while now, trying to break in to the top 10 worldwide, trying to break into the top 5 EU. It's been tricky for him. I think that's around about where I'd put him though. Luis is always thereabouts, just like just barely in or barely out of top 5 EU, with the clear top 4 being Moxie, Jack, Jorias, and Raziers for the past year. Atto, a newer addition to the EU1 scene. Still relatively untested. He's got good wins to his name. Interestingly enough, he did beat Jorias, I think, in the opener in Pro Drops. It's a phenomenal touch there from Atto. What control to bring down the ball. He's tripped up Luis as well. He's going to get his 3rd goal here. Fantastic control in defense. intentional ball cam dribble, effective flick, and a keen eye to bump his opponent. Atto waking up for the first game now. Pickonic, thanks to 30-month Prime, by the way. Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate the resub. Now, what can Atto do with a full pitch dribble? Once again, he's intentionally dribbling with ball cam on. This is very interesting to see because he wasn't really given any additional information by doing that. It didn't seem to bother him too much at all. He just lofts the ball into the air, gets a reset, and then shoots over the top of Luis. So 2 goals difference now, as the rest of Europe fight back against Spain once again. Oh wow, huge power from Atto on a low boost flick. Too much power, it would seem. Might try and make something happen here. Reverse takeoff from the wall, just a low one. Atto looking to run away to the mid boost, and oh my goodness, he just about gets away from the demo there. Look how often he's dribbling with ball cam today. This is not forced ball cam. I'm using player POVs, but you'd think that this is just a forced ball cam. The amount of times Atto's just leaving it on and carrying the ball around. It's not something that's completely new strategically. Sometimes, especially if you're dribbling from left to right and your opponent's sitting in their goal, dribbling with ball cam on can give you a better view of where they are compared to having ball cam off and just looking sideways at the wall and having your opponent in your blind spot. But like I mentioned earlier, I don't think having ball cam on has actually given Atto any additional information. He's been pretty, pretty face on with Luis when he's doing it. Like positions like this, he's able to see Luis regardless of whether or not he turns on and off ball cam there. I'm just so impressed that he's got such comfortable control with or without it. Yeah, K-Dop style. That's a very well remembered comment there. K-Dop back in the day when he was rank 1's player, used to dribble around with ball cam a lot, and he would position himself very side onto the ball so that having ball cam on would allow him to, or rather, he would position himself pretty much just in spots in the field where he can dribble adjacent to his opponent, not straight at them. Let's see if Atto does it here. No, this time he will switch it off and still rips a shot towards the top corner. Time's running out, but so is Luis. Boost total. Atto's quickly up into the air. Luis critically gets a piece of that, and he tries to close the distance. Oh, Atto's missed the corner boost. That should be game 1. Luis actually gives him the ball back. Atto coming at him again. Has to pull out some heroics, and he's not able to do it. Luis just hangs on for 1-0. All the momentum with the rest of Europe, though. All the momentum with Atto at the end of that game. That was a scary sequence for Luis. I thought he'd won it when Atto missed the boost steal. I thought Luis could just stay on the ball and confirm the win, but he went for the back corner boost, giving Atto the ball, and had to make one more save. And it's one more save on the scoreboard at the end of the game that looked to be the difference in this one. What was it, 5-0 before Atto started coming back, though? So we had a 6-2 scoreline in Atto's favour after the initial 5-0 for Luis. So yeah, very, very Atto-favoured endgame there. I'm sure Luis was just trying to carefully run down the clock, and you didn't really mind that he was conceding every now and then, but towards the end of the game, I'm sure he did mind. When it got to 2 goals, 1 goal, that's when you start to definitely mind that you've given your opponent so many goals. It'll be another quick start for Luis. He's taking off in the wrong direction with the air dribble. A double reset gets it right back in control. Don't think he landed the second one, actually. He didn't overcommit from it. 1 reset will do for Atto. Tries to fake Luis this time. Atto's follow-up shot is a bit too slow. Straight at the Spaniard. Atto chilling in the box, just floating around here, looking to predict where Luis is going to go, but he fails to cover the ball. Yeah, he might have predicted where Luis is going to be by bumping him out of the air. Fortunately for him, he let the ball go past him. 1-0 Luis. Oh, that's a very smart play there by Luis. He knew that he'd concede possession if he went for the mid boost there, and he'd rather concede possession in the back corner. The shot needed to be better, though. He's made a smart play, but the shot has to be a good one from the ground. You can't just give your opponent a catch on their goal line. The whole point of dribbling your opponent with low boost after you take the ball on a kickoff is to force them to jump and make the save. That gives you chances to seal the back corner boost, that gives you chances to retreat, grab mid boost, and then you've got the whole pitch to maneuver and defend the incoming attack, as opposed to having to defend the attack from halfway. Yeah, usually a player like Luis will be able to produce quality flicks regardless of his boost total. Luis there, just winning the race to the back corner boost. Attow's going to stick to the ball anyway. Beautiful pre-flip, just clipping it into the back corner, but Attow's got to be careful. Luis looking for the demo on the back wall. Very low scoring stuff once again between these two at the start of a game. It's only at the end of the game that Atto started to loosen up a little bit and scored a whole lot more. But now he's quite happy to wait, and I don't know if that's been the right plan, to be honest. Luis is threatening him every time that he comes forward, and he's recovering off the back of all these offensive drives. He's not landing out of position, giving Atto many chances to punish him for overextending. Just 12 boost now for Atto. Luis slaps it top corner, 2-1. Any chance for Smug in 2023? Never say never. Don't have anything in the immediate pipeline, but we'll see. Of course, as always, the dream would be to run big international ones LAN. That's for me the event that would be the most interesting. Honestly, given how interesting this format has been, I would love to see this on LAN. Like, I'm already picturing, I don't know if you guys do this as well, maybe it's just me because I do arrange tournaments fairly regularly, but after the first day of this event between France and England, I was just picturing in my head, you know, what would that look like on LAN? You'd have the France lineup all sitting at one side. Like, I think for like for presentation, it would be cool if both the teams were sitting kind of opposite each other. I'm thinking like, you know, dugout kind of situation where both teams are there with maybe like their managers or their coaches or whatever. They're discussing who they're going to send out next, and then the player they send out walks up to the stage and they could walk up together. That would be, I think, a cooler way to do it than the Gamers 8 way, where all the players need to all be sitting down, because you're not just choosing players, you're choosing game modes. Gamers 8, of course, had to do it where all the players are there anyway. You find out who's playing when the lobby starts, but I think visually it's a lot cooler if the players walk up physically to their seats and get their settings in place for the games. Can you imagine the tension? I actually think back to, we saw that one time in Beyond the Summit 2019. I've talked about this in my stream before, but I'll tell you guys again, because I'm sure there's some of you who haven't heard this story. We had 1v1 as part of a crew battle tournament at Beyond the Summit. And in the 1v1 match between Fairy Peak's team and Kronovi's team, I think they might have been captains, I don't remember. But they were definitely on opposite teams. You know, me and 3 other casters, I think it was actually me and 3 pro players, were all just sitting, commentating the match, getting ready for the crew battle to commence. And we were speculating, you know, who's going to play the 1v1 for both teams. Is it going to be Fairy Peak, is it going to be Kronovi and all that? And then we just looked over and we saw Kronovi and Fairy Peak walking upstairs to go and take their places at the PCs and get ready to play each other. And the tension was unbelievable. It was like something we'd never experienced before at a Rocket League event, because there's just something different about being all by yourself and having a team on your back at the same time. Like, you are going out there to compete 1 versus 1, but you're also doing it repping a team. So that's exactly what we've got here. You know, an extra bit of pressure, because it's not just you that your results depend on. Yeah, it was so funny. There was 4 of us there waiting for this. As soon as we saw Kronovi and Fairy Peak walking up the stairs, we all like leaned forward at the same time, and I could just feel the tension in the room. Everybody's watching. Everybody wants to see what's going to happen. So I'd love to see a tournament like this on LAN in a similar setting where you know, game one today, or match one today, Joreuz and Atomic both get up out of their seats and walk up to play each other, and then you've got Raziers and CRR after that. I mean, how cool would that be? I feel like this format that we're watching right now it's honestly made for LAN, but I'd want to see a combo. I'd want to see like a tournament like this, and then, you know, also a solo tournament as well, like on 2 separate days, like the team element, the team component, and then the solo component as well. Well, Atto, you better get a move on if you're going to come back here. Luis, with a couple of solid aerial challenges, confirms the win, the 2nd game in a row. And like we mentioned earlier, this could actually tie the series if what I've been told about Raziers is in fact true. Someone in chat was saying that Raziers wrote in the Twitch chat that he had to go, so he wouldn't be playing again today for the rest of Europe team. Now, if that is true, if that's the case, Luis will just have to beat Joreuz to send Spain to the semi-final. Of course, Joreuz would only have to beat Luis as well, but I didn't expect this to be on a knife edge after the start that the rest of Europe had today. Can Atto get a good start to a game for the first time? His first shot falls short. Luckily for him, Luis could not hit the open net to the other side of the field. Atto's actually just written in the rest of Europe team chat, what can I do? He seems a bit lost for how to play against Luis, who's this effective with his aerial defense. I mean, Atto's used to just having his way with his opponents and scoring every time he flies at them. It looked like we might be headed that direction after game one, at least in terms of how it ended. The aerial defense for Luis really stepped up in the 2nd game, and Atto's looking like a bit less comfortable. I won't say what Joreuz has replied, but he has actually written some advice. I won't say that. I don't want to read out the strategy that's being discussed in the rest of EU chat. But yeah, Joreuz has actually had a little hint there for Atto on how to win this matchup. Didn't help him out defending that mind game. Luis continuing to just truck on forwards. He looks like the more complete player right now. Can he keep it up? I said it earlier. Luis, always a good game 1 and game 2 player. Tends to fizzle as series continue. Atto's been a bit too cautious at the start of these games. I'd love to see him just up the aggression a little bit. Well, there's a much more aggressive look as he tries to get a pogo shot off before Luis can close the distance. Do I agree with his notes? Well, I won't tell you what Joreuz has written, but I think it's a good. I think it's a good idea. It does look like a good idea. You know, you would expect it to be a good idea when you've got Joreuz in your team giving you tips on how to beat your opponent. You better be paying attention. Yeah, I'm not gonna. You guys can speculate. I'm not gonna talk specifics. I don't want to reveal the strats for either team. Well, actually, Atto with the boost advantage off that shot from Luis. Oh, he's just called the bluff as well. Luis wanted to control it. Atto charges in and puts himself 3-1 in front. It's a great shot, actually. Doesn't look like much. He's just driven into the ball, but to read exactly what Luis was doing there, so it makes that an impressive shot. If Luis just flips into this, then Atto could be in a bit of trouble, but Atto's predicted that Luis doesn't want to do that, as it would potentially lose control if Atto doesn't drive forward like that. Atto spawning near post. Luis trying to flick it over him. Fails. Atto trying to prio defense, but Luis finds a way through. This time the flick does go over the Atto's shoulder. Do I agree with what Jack says about the age restrictions of Rocket League? Yeah, apparently Jack tweeted out that he thinks Rocket League, RLCS at least, should have an age limit, or at least a bottom end age limit. I think he said that 17, 18 would make more sense as a starting age for RLCS instead of 15. He had a bunch of reasons that I mostly agreed with. I think it was a very well written thread on Twitter, so head over to apparently Jack's Twitter if you want to read about it. One thing that he didn't talk about, because I don't think he wanted to write it on Twitter because it leaves far too much to interpretation, but one element that he didn't discuss is that 15-year-olds are just not going to be as good at the entertainment aspect. Perfect flick from Atto there. Yeah, 15-year-olds are obviously just not going to be as interesting on average as 17 and 18-year-olds when it comes to being a personality and being a part of the entertainment side of esports, because esports is in the entertainment business. So if you're trying to make a good show, it's not just about getting the best players, it's also about getting the best content around that. And I think having older players, 17 and 18-year-old as a baseline, would definitely help that, because players would have a bit more chance to grow up and become more comfortable with their personalities on camera. Yeah, I think long term it would make sense. And the other reasons that Abjack discussed as well were great points about, like, 15-year-olds. Some people are ditching school, some people are putting a ton of pressure on themselves at a young age that is not healthy. I talked about it earlier. The fan bases of some of these players and teams are so toxic to the player themselves, and it worries me when I read some of these comments, because I know that some of the most popular teams in the world do not enjoy reading their fans' comments about them, even though they're so popular. The comments are just so toxic and so judgmental and so negative. It's like the super fans seem more interested in talking bad about the opposition than actually talking good about the team they're actually fans of. So that can be another issue that it's much harder to deal with when you're 15 compared to being an 18-year-old, and you can usually compartmentalize that a lot more effectively. So yeah, I think it would be a good idea for the future, but it's obviously something that has to be thought about very carefully. There's a lot of moving parts there with orgs, players, contracts, expectations. Very, very difficult thing to do. Perhaps the solution would be to do it in stages rather than just 1 year at a time. Or rather than just all at once. Instead of just bumping the age restriction from 15 to 18 1 year, maybe it goes 15 to 16, and the next year 16 to 17, and the next year after that 17 to 18. Because at least then, players who are 1 year away from being old enough to play, they'll know that they're not going to be playing for 3 years. And yet you could still have, somebody who's 17 years old decides that, or somebody who's like been 1 year away, like currently age 14, and is about to be 15, they wouldn't suddenly, have all of that practice when they're 14 years old getting ready for RLCS. It wouldn't all be wasted. The goalposts wouldn't suddenly move a whole pile of years away. I mean, yeah, I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, well, that would just be awful. Somebody would be, perpetually be 1 year away from playing RLCS. But the thing is, they would know, if there was a roadmap for that, they would know that they're not really 1 year away. They're actually 3 years away the entire time. The only people who would be able to make the most of that clause would be people who are already at RLCS age at whatever year it is, and just, were in the bubble instead of just waiting to get older. Just knowing makes it okay. Well, of course it does, because then you can plan your life accordingly. If you know that you're not going to be able to play RLCS for another 3 years, because every passing year the age restriction is going to increase, then you can plan your life around that. You can choose to play in whatever junior leagues, academy leagues, or not, or you can choose to, you know, do your studies first, your sports first, whatever it is, and then come back to trying to grind esports when you're closer to RLCS age. You know, of course it makes a difference if you know. It's a big difference. It's important to just make sure that those expectations are met consistently. You can't, once you've started that process, you cannot change it. You can't be like switching it up after 1 year and be like, oh, actually now we've moved the goalposts again. You know, that would be unfair. What about 1 year every 2 years? Yeah, that's another way to do it. Same idea. It's a very nice save there from Atto, just knocking the ball into the corner. Very educational save by the Belgian in that play, just making sure not to get as much distance on the clear as possible, but focusing entirely on the angle. And that's something that you guys can all apply to your own games, not just 1v1, but every game mode. Sometimes it's more important to get the angle of the clear right rather than the distance. It's very often just hitting the ball further away from your goal just hits it towards the opponents even more quickly, and if you can instead just keep it in the back corner right next to your wall, it's very limiting to what the opponents can actually do against you. Is the age limit for chess tournaments? I don't know, actually. I don't know. You always hear these stories about, you know, a chess prodigy entering a tournament and winning. Like, I think Magnus Carlsen, didn't he win a chess tournament or beat like a grandmaster when he was like 12 or 13 or something silly? Chess is 13. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's definitely a discussion. There's no clear, correct way to do it. To handle the age restrictions, it's a tough one to figure out. Interesting though, very interesting discussion. That was a boom by Luis, looking like first killer yesterday with the defensive clears getting sent straight into the net. You know, I'd said that sometimes it's better not to prioritize power and just go for the angle of your clears, but sometimes it's better to just prioritize the power if you can snipe the net from far away. Atto doing so here with a little jump into the ball. Interestingly, it's sometimes faster to double jump into the ball than it is to dodge into the ball. Of course, dodging gives you a slight boost of speed forwards, especially if you're not supersonic. But if the ball's too high to just immediately flip into, then the double jump will make contact more quickly. It's like the same way that a fast aerial reaches the ball before a single jump aerial. If you're holding your double jump the full duration, you're going to get a lot of elevation quickly, and you can really hit the ball very hard by just double jumping into it like that. I think it was it Jack who called Monkey Moon a double jump merchant or something to that effect? Monkey Moon always looking for those angles to just narrowly beat his opponent to the punch. It's funny to look at it now because back in the day you'd always save your dodge for a shot. You'd never want to be double jumping into the ball for a shot. You'd always want to be dodging so you can place it, you can hit it that little bit harder, but these days mechanics are reaching a level that you don't actually gain a lot of power by dodging. If you're a pro player and you're just double jumping perfectly into the ball, then you're going to get the same power or very, very close to it as a dodge would. That's a great save. Atto with a reverse crossbar pinch. He's hanging on in this series for the rest of Europe. Closes the distance. Luis absorbs the challenge. Can he get the shots on target though? No, he decides to just pop it into the back wall. He's looking to get Atto to panic in these positions. Atto's just chilling, and now manages to get a huge clear. That's going to really improve his position here. In fact, turnover of possession. Luis is out of the game. Atto is through on goal, but he takes too long. Luis makes it back. Atto has done brilliantly to survive and now turn the possession around. He is really taking his time, and he made it work. No risks, no rush, just resets. Atto up by 1. It's once again another nightmare scenario for Luis. I told you that, you know, he's always, at least in my opinion, looked better in games 1 and 2. Is it that Joria's advice that's helped out Atto perhaps? I mean, only we can know. I'm not going to spill the beans on that one, but just another interesting element to this tournament. You've got all of these world-class ones players in one team. I always say it's much easier to spot the counter plays, and it's much easier to spot the strategies that are going to work against what your opponent's doing when you're on the sidelines. I shouldn't say your opponent, but yeah, it's much easier for me and for someone like Joreuz to watch this series and say, yeah, try this, I think this is going to work, than it is for Atto or Luis to figure out on the fly. It's why I'm always so impressed by players who can figure out the counter strats on the fly, especially when it comes to kickoffs. So what's Luis got left? Atto denies him in the air once again, and he's going to score to put himself up 6-4. It looks like game 5 is all but confirmed. Joreuz saying all me. What would you say, Joreuz? Do you think that your advice has been adhered to so far? I think there's definitely been elements of that in Atto's success. Definitely been elements of it. Of course, Joreuz says it with a recent 3-0 win over Luis. Maybe he figured out something in that match that worked out pretty well. Not all. Oh yeah, of course. I've seen Atto do different things. I'm trying so hard not to leak anything here. I've seen Atto do different things as well. Top of what you told him. It's another game 5 for Luis. Is it going to be another game 5 heartbreak? Or is it going to be the comeback for Spain? Reminder for anyone who missed this key piece of information earlier on. Braziers seems to have gone to bed, having full faith that Atto or Joreuz will eliminate Spain's last player, Luis, and push them through to the semi-final against France in a couple of days. And that does mean that if Luis can win one game here, Joreuz and himself will be straight into the ace match. But Atto's got all the momentum. 2 straight games. And a quick demo goal to tie game 5. Yeah, you pronounced Atto's name like Atto. I know a lot of people wanted to say Atow a while ago. Look at the demos just raining in now. Atto's got an open net for himself, and he will just shoot it top corner. We've seen so many slow roll open nets today. I was half expecting another one here. It's in this position. Atto just wants to see where Luis is going to spawn. If Luis spawns near post, he's going to need to shoot it past him. But if Luis spawns far post like that, the top corner is just simply open. So no reason to take your time. You just got to shoot it into the open part of the net. That's exactly what Atto has done. Luis lobs it up and over him. Early challenge, failing to connect. Now can Luis get the rebound on target? No, he can't. In fact, he hits the bar flush. And he better run away quickly. Atto's behind him. Looks like Luis will recover this time. Not a moment too late, because Atto is trying to go for a third demo. And maybe even a goal to follow. Atto keeping Luis guessing. He's been backing off to defend his net at times in this series, but he's also aggressing when Luis has got the ball. It seems like when Luis is in Atto's half, Atto's preference is to just get in his goal, and when Luis is in his own half, Atto's trying to use the extra space behind him to either fake challenges or charge in with challenges. Bit of a panic play in defense there from Atto. Luis ties once again. That's a great hit from Atto. It's a bit of an awkward one for Luis, but Luis boost management more than equal to this situation. I think Atto's underestimated just how much boost Luis had in this play. Thought he could beat him to the ball on the turn. Luis beats him to the ball. Yeah, look at that. So Atto thought Luis was on 0 or maybe 12. He didn't realize Luis had saved up so much after initially losing the kickoff. Atto with a 100 boost steal. Wanted to center the ball to himself there. He'll settle for the boost steal at the far side of the box as well. Once again, Luis is managing his boost very well. Atto's got to be careful, and Atto is careful. Completely nullifies Luis's attempt to fling the ball to safety. Similarly to the wave dash recovery kickoff strategy, just single jumping, leaning back a bit, just letting the ball hit you, cushion the blow. Atto charges. Luis did not see it coming. Oh, what a dodge from Atto. Luis Down by 1 again. He didn't see that challenge coming. All about Atto keeping him guessing. It was a blatant challenge. Luis could see it coming, but that's kind of the point. Those blatant challenges for Atto have been so few and far between that even though Luis could see it, he didn't think it would be a real one. And here comes another one. Well, Atto's just doubling down here on these early challenges. He's had so many successful demos on the Spaniard so far this game. Oh, wow. Atto's done him again. Was it last game he did this? Just a point-blank charge. Luis can see him coming. And Atto knows that Luis can see him coming. But he just doesn't care. He just charges in and dunks on him. This is why you want to switch up your strategy in every aspect of the 1v1 game. Whether it be kickoffs, attack, or defense, you want to keep your opponent guessing. And Atto has done just that defensively here. He had a much more passive stance in games 3 and 4. Now he is flinging himself forward. And Luis has not reacted to the majority of these plays. Now where's Luis going on this one? He thought Atto was going to try and demo him again, but Atto realised that, well, if Luis is running that far away from the plate, I might as well just score the open net. Poor Luis just can't get it right in a game 5. He just cannot put it together. He had everything going his way earlier on, and he has to stabilise here. He does so. Very well placed flick, but can he build on this? Will he start to see these early challenges from Atto coming? He's got to try and neutralise them in some way, or counter them with early moves in the midfield. What has Atto just done there? I think he somehow pre-flipped into a reset and almost got a shot off. That's probably an accident, but with Atto you never know. Huge counter from Luis. Here, double bump does not connect. Luis does with the open net though. Atto really went for that one. Let the ball get a bit too far in front of him, it looks like. Luis is coming back. Oh, the delayed kickoff is going to get him a goal here. Luis pulls another trick out the bag, and now we have a tie game. It's so important to consider the delayed kickoff as a counter to the wave dash recovery kickoff. I've talked about this in the past, but it's an unexplored strategy. The delayed kickoff can get crushed by standard kickoffs if somebody just rolls through the ball, but it's a great mix-up if your opponent's just trying wave dash recoveries every single time. For the exact reason we just saw. Luis up by 1 now. It's another successful flick. And on the other end, he's defended brilliantly, launching the ball into his own post to keep Atto at bay. Atto half flips. Luis trying to run the ball into the back corner. He counters the half flip kickoff. Luis has got the correct strat calls late in game 5. He's been one step ahead on a couple of kickoffs here strategically. Didn't want a 50-50 there. Oof, Luis just barely gets a piece of that one. That was a risky jump, but he made it work. Minute to go. It's been 4 straight goals for Luis. Atto does grab the back corner boost, and he's got Luis on the run. Now Luis with the early challenge. He's giving Atto a taste of his own medicine here. Atto threatened the bump, and then just took the open net instead. Well, it's the same old story for Luis. He's so worried about those bumps that were happening earlier in the game, and he forgets about the ball. You notice that little break check there from Luis. He was probably expecting Atto to steer and flip right into him, but Atto just plays the ball and gets a second goal while Luis runs away. Luis a 12 boost. Oh, but a huge mind game. Atto had the advantage. He's still going to have it after a quick recovery. That was a perfect mind game by Luis, but he didn't get the shots off quickly enough. He didn't have the opportunity to do so. The ball had no life in it. There was no bounce, no play. With 35 seconds left, this could be the end of Spain's run. Atto looking to reverse sweep Luis. And another demo. All but does it. Oh my goodness. Luis forfeits with a 2-goal deficit. Well, that has to be tilt. There's no way that game is over. 2-goal difference in ones. You only need 10 seconds. You only need 6 seconds. Luis had 25. but he's also had enough. That is crazy. Atto has completely tilted him off the face of the earth in this last game. Games 3 and 4, I don't know if Jorius wants to say what he told Atto to do now that Luis is out of the tournament. Jorius, you can let me know in chat if you want me to explain exactly how this went down. But from what I could see, Atto did in fact follow Jorius' advice pretty closely in games 3 and 4, and then in game 5 he just threw caution to the wind and started ball chasing from a distance. Let's see what Jorius written here. He said, let him freestyle and score open net. See, that's exactly what he said. Atto said, what can I do, bro? GG, GG. Jorius says, let him freestyle and score open nets. And that is what caused Atto to take, I think, a little bit more of a defensive stance. And it did seem to work out. Luis dropped a little bit in level, and you know, I think it is something that you can anticipate with Luis these days. He's really struggled at the tail end of series. He's so good out the gate, but yeah, great strat call by Jorius. I have to give it to him. Really, really good call, because you're against a player who's struggled to close out series, and he does have a very flashy offensive game. And you know, if that level from Luis in offense drops at all, which it did, then you're going to get free goals, which Atto did. He was defending brilliantly, and phenomenal stuff from Atto as well. I think that was just his own idea to just start ball chasing in game 5 and switch it up again, because this is more of what he did in game 1 and 2 actually. Atto was more aggressive in game 1 and 2, and it didn't really work out. But game 5 it did, because by then Atto had conditioned Luis to expect fake challenges. He conditioned him to expect a more passive defensive stance. But yeah, lesson learned for everyone watching, I'm sure. That's why it's important to surprise your opponent. So many viable strats in ones these days. You cannot just be a master of one.